Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvakacharya Astatara Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Caitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Gaur Pramanandi. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Vaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So today we're reading from the Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, and we're starting at text 182 and going through to 189. Gare ase dui ba yukati karina. Prabhu deki bare chali vesha lukana. Gara asidui ba yukati karina. Prabhu deki bare chali vesha lukana. Gara Asi, after returning home. Dubai, two brothers. Yukati, arguments. Karina, making. Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Dekibare, to see. Chale, go. Vesha, dress. Lukana, hiding. Translation. After returning to his residence, Dabir Kas and his brother decided after much consideration to go and see the Lord incognito. Text 183. Ade ratre dui bai aila prabhustane, pratame me lila nityananda haridasa sane. Thus in the dead of night, the two brothers, Dabir Kas and Sakar Malik, went to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu incognito. First they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Text 184. Tanra dui jana janila prabhura gochare, rupa sakara malik aila tomara dekibare. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two personalities, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, had come to see him. Sakara Malik was the name of Sanatan Goswami, and Dabir Kas was the name of Rupa Goswami. They were recognized by the names in the service of the Muhammadan king. Therefore, they are Muhammadan names. As officials, the brothers adopted all kinds of Muhammadan customs. Om Jnanatimanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nevishesha Shanyavadi Praskacheda Satarine. So one of the obvious questions that may be asked is, why were the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, employed in the service of the invading Muhammadan people, whose natures in themselves are very degraded and abominable? And so to find out this reason, we'll go back in time to the birth and activities of these two great souls. So I was looking online, and it says over the history that India's been invaded 200 times. And so it's Alexander the Great, the Mohammedans, the Turks, many other people, and also the last of all, the British. They invaded India to steal their wealth, and they committed very many atrocities and abominable activities. We know that after the time of Rupa Goswami, one of the most terrible demoniac invaders was called Aurangzeb. And he was very envious of the Vaishnavas. He hated the devotees and he hated all the Hindus. And one day he was looking out of his palace towards Vrindavan, and he saw the Radha Govinda temple, which was 7 stories high. And at the top of the temple he could see a light, he could see the ghee lamp, and he became very envious. And so the next day he was going to send his soldiers to go and destroy the temples, destroy the deities. But luckily there was one of his members of his community who was favorable to the Vaishnavas, so they went in the dead of night and they warned the devotees, look, this is going to happen. So during the night, the pujaris, they hid the deities in ponds, and in that way they were able to save the deities. And later on, these deities, they traveled to Jaipur, where they were protected at Jaipur under the care of the Rajput kings. And so this Aurangzeb, he went in the morning, he destroyed the temple. They destroyed 4 stories of the Radha Govinda temple, and they actually slaughtered the devotees as well. They was very, very demoniac people. So yeah, it's been very sad. I mean, in many countries you see this invasions taking place, and it's always of a very envious, very demoniac nature. So now we'll go back to Sanatan Goswami. He took birth in the year 1488. And can anyone say what year Lord Caitanya took birth? Yes, Prabhu, fantastic, thank you. Yes, so 1486, so 2 years later, Sanatan Goswami took birth in a wonderful Vaishnav Brahmin family. And his name at birth was Amara. And 5 years later, in 1493, then Rupa Goswami took birth, and his birth name was Santosh. And then later on, their younger brother, Anupam, whose name was Balabar at birth. And so their parents were called Kamaradev and Revati Devi. They were very good Vaishnavas. And from a very early age, Amara and Santosh, they were very beautiful devotees. They were very Krishna conscious, and they were very studious. They had very great devotion for Krishna. They were very handsome. They were very intelligent, very compassionate. And they loved every living entity. They had this love, and everybody loved them as well. When they played in the forests, they named these forests after the forests of Vrindavan. And there were 2 ponds near their house, which they renamed Shamakund and Radhakund. So at that time, the Bengal district, it was under the control of the Mohammedan ruler, Nawab Hussain Shah, he was quite a violent person, and he made the Hindus suffer. And through his ministers, he heard about Amara and Santosh, how they were very much respected and how intelligent they were. And so he thought, okay, I would like to have them in my ministry, in my government. So he called them to his palace. So the next day, Santosh and Amara, they went to see the Nawab. And the Nawab, he gave him a proposition. He said, I want you to be in my government. I want Amara, who is Sanatan Goswami, I want him to be the prime minister. And Santosh Rupa, I want him to be the finance minister. And if you don't agree to this proposition, I'm going to kill all the Hindus in the area. So they didn't really have much of a choice. They had to take up this position. But they were very, very ashamed and upset that they had to serve in such a situation. But nevertheless, they did their service, and they did it very nicely. And so the Muhammadan ruler, he was actually very pleased with Amara and Santosh, and so he decided to give them Muslim names. And he gave them names which were considered honorary in the Muslim tradition. So Sanatan Goswami, he gave the name Shakir Malik, and Rupa Goswami was given the name Dabir Khas. But they weren't very happy, but they had to stay in these positions. And their father, Kamaradev, he was actually very upset as well that this was a situation they were in. But internally, the Amara and Santosha were very great devotees, and they felt a great separation from Lord Krishna. So in their estate, they constructed a replica of Vrindavan, Gupta Vrindavan. And in there, it was called Kadamba Kanan, the beautiful forest there, and they made 2 ponds called Shamakund and Radhakund. Now, these 2 brothers, they had heard about Lord Caitanya, and in their hearts, they really wanted to meet him and get his mercy. So then they decided to write a letter to Lord Caitanya. And then a little while later, Lord Caitanya replied. And he said, if a wife is attached to a man other than her husband, then she should perform her duties very carefully, so that the husband doesn't suspect she has a paramour. But in her heart, she should exclusively meditate upon her beloved. So this is a cryptic message that Lord Caitanya sent the brothers. And he's telling them that they should continue with their service, and they should simply await the mercy of the Lord. So then Lord Caitanya, he wanted to show his mercy to his devotees, so on the pretext of going to Vrindavan, he diverted to Ramakeli to give his mercy to the 2 brothers. And then the 2 brothers, they came incognito to see the Lord in Ramakeli, and this is where we're up to. So an interesting point is in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Caitanya Caritamrita, we hear about the lives of these great devotees, and they're not very easy because they're also there to teach us lessons of how we should act in devotional service and how we can attain perfection as well. Because if the Bhagavatam was full of stories of the devotees and their lives were very, very free-flowing, that they could spread Krishna consciousness, there was never any obstacles, and how are we going to relate to this? And when we go through tough times, how are we actually going to know how to overcome these obstacles, and also how to act like these great devotees? They're our guiding light on how to act as devotees. So I'm just going to finish off the rest of the verses. So this is text 185. Durgucha trina dune darshane darina gale vastra bandi pade dandavathana. In great humility, both brothers took a bunch of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, they fell down like rods before the Lord. Upon seeing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 2 brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. The 2 brothers got up, and again holding straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful Savior of the fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates and employments are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing before you. Purport. Although the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, at that time, Dabir Kas and Sakir Malik, presented themselves as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahmin family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahmin caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Mohammedan governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Mohammedans. Therefore, they presented themselves as Nicha Jati. The word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are 3 kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method, and the third birth is acceptance of the spiritual, of the reformatory method, and third birth is acceptance of the spiritual master or being associated with people. I've got mixed up here. One becomes abominable by associating with abominable profession or associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rupa and Sanatan as Dabir Kas and Sakir Malik associated with Mohammedans who were naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. But one symptom, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir Kas and Sakir Malik belonged to the Brahmin caste, but because they were employed by Mohammedans, their original habits degenerated into those of the Mohammedan community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lower caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is clearly stated that because Sakir Malik and Dabir Kas associated with low-class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmin families. So we read here that Rupa and Sanatan, they took the straw between their teeth and they offered obeisances. So this is actually signs of great humility. So Rupa and Sanatan, they genuinely thought of themselves as very low and fallen, even though they were greatly exalted souls and eternal associates of the Lord. So in the 3rd verse of the Shikshashtakam prayers, which we recite every day, and are left by Lord Caitanya, and this verse is actually considered to be the most important verse by our acharyas. And it says, Tanadapi sinichena torivasihishana, amarana manadina kirtana sadahare. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, in his commentary on the verse, he emphasizes its importance in devotional practice. He highlights the verse of thinking oneself lower than grass, more tolerant than the tree, and offering all respects to others. And it's a crucial principle for chanting the holy name of the Lord. And Kaviraj Goswami, he advises us that devotees, they should wear this verse as a garland around one's neck. And it signifies its constant presence in their thoughts and activities. He further explains that the humility of being tolerant more than a tree and more humble than a blade of grass is essential for genuine devotion and the ability to chant the holy name of the Lord with sincerity. So the Tanada Pisanichana, this part of the verse, it describes the ideal mindset for a devotee. It emphasizes humility. It means to consider oneself even lower than the grass, which is constantly being trampled upon, but it doesn't protest or retaliate. So for a devotee who is serious about making advancement and progressing on the path of devotional service, this quality of humility is very essential. So we have to learn how to become the servant and not the master. So we know the phrase das and a das and a das. We learn to become the servant of the servant of the servant. And actually Ram Prasad Prabhu was mentioning this the other day in the class that Devagora Prabhu was giving. And he was saying that for a devotee to protect themselves, their protection is that they think of themselves as a servant. So this is very important. And why should we feel that we're a servant? Because when you feel that you're a servant, you feel that you're not very qualified to serve the Lord. But through serving the devotees, then we can get the mercy of the Lord. Just like even in deity worship, especially when we worship small Radha Krishna, we do the mantras, and first of all, there's many mantras we do, which is the worship of the spiritual master. So we're getting permission from the spiritual master to insist him in the service to the Lord. So it's not that we're directly going to the Lord, but we're going through his servant. And when we get initiated, our spiritual master gives us a spiritual name. And this name, for the men, he puts Das on the end, and for the women, the name of Dasi is given to show that we're servants. So someone may be Jagannath Dasi, servant of Lord Jagannath, Guru Charana Padma Dasi, servant of the lotus feet of the Guru, or different names in connection with Krishna, his servants, his service, his places of pastimes. So no matter whatever position one gets in ISKCON, if one has a position, one always has to remain a servant. The bigger position you have, the greater servant you should be. This is your mood, because if one doesn't see themselves as a service, it's very easy for this quality of pride to enter into one's mind and one's heart. And when the quality of pride enters, then offenses can be committed. And it's like an elephant goes into a garden and there's beautiful flowers and plants, but a mad elephant will just go and trample everything. So by us giving up the quality of humility and accepting the quality of pride and thinking we're something special, then we can trample our creeper of devotional service, and even worse, we can try and trample the creeper of other people's devotional service too, which is very highly offensive. So we can see in the lives of the great acharyas, in their writings, their personalities, and in their prayers, that this quality of humility is actually a very important quality. And we can see it in the life of our dear Master Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada lived at the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan before he came to the West, he was seen and heard at night time. He was sweeping in front of Srila Rupa Goswami's samadhi, and he was crying out to Rupa Goswami, please help me achieve the order of my spiritual master. Please help me do this. So this is he's feeling very unqualified and he's very dependent. Please, you help me. I can't do this without your mercy. And also, we see that in Prabhupada's prayers, Makin Bhagavad Dharma, he writes in the last verse, I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta. Now, if you like, you can fulfill the real meaning of Bhaktivedanta. So we can see this is how Srila Prabhupada is feeling when he says, I have no devotion, I have no knowledge. This is Srila Prabhupada's heart. Even though he's a great Mahabhagavat devotee of the Lord, he's very surrendered, but in himself he's feeling very unqualified and very fallen. We see also when Srila Prabhupada first started ISKCON in New York, when the guests used to come, Srila Prabhupada, 70-year-old man, he used to be giving class, he'd be cooking, he'd be doing all the preparation work, he'd be serving, and he would be cleaning up, and he never complained, because he did whatever was necessary to spread Krishna consciousness. So in his Kaliya Kalpataru, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes, when will Mahaprabhu show his mercy upon me, so I may have shelter in the shade of the Vaishnava's feet? I will humbly stand before the Vaishnava, holding a straw between my teeth. Weeping, I will tell him of my miserable life, and I shall give up all self-deception. I will admit that my life is one of never-ending misery and beg him to put an end to all of this. The kind Vaishnava will beg Sri Krishna with all his might, and Krishna, moved by the Vaishnava's sincerity, will shower his divine grace. There's also a very beautiful prayer by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. It's called Gauranga Karuna Koro, which means be merciful, Lord Gauranga. And his humility is very much present in this bhajan of his. So the meaning of this verse, the translation is, "O my dear Lord Gauranga, please show me your mercy to this fallen and destitute soul. O Lord, there is no one more fallen than myself in all the three worlds. Holding grass between my teeth, O Lord Gaura, I am calling out to you now. Please be compassionate upon me and come and reside within the temple of my heart. If you do not agree to give me your mercy, seeing how fallen I am, then why are you known as Patita Pavana, the merciful savior of the fallen? I am plunged amidst the violent hurricane-stricken waves of the ocean of this material world, from which there is no escape. Kindly give me the gift of your divine lotus feet, which are compared to a boat in which your servant may cross over the ocean of birth and death. Narottam Das, the servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ceaselessly makes this prayer." So this is Narottam Das Thakur here we're talking about. And Narottam Das Thakur, he is such an exalted devotee. Before he was born, Lord Gauranga, he was calling out, "Narottam, Narottam," and the devotees were wondering, who is this Narottam? And Narottam, the Lord explained, no problem. So the Lord explained how Narottam Das Thakur is going to appear and spread Krishna consciousness. And this Narottam Das Thakur, he's actually the embodiment of the love of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is such an exalted soul. So Narottam Das Thakur, he appeared after Lord Gauranga had disappeared. And so Narottam, he decided to go on pilgrimage to Navadvip to see the holy places of pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And when he was there, he met some of the associates. He saw Ishana, who was the servant of Sachimata, and he had witnessed Lord Gauranga's childhood pastimes and his growing up. And then he saw Shuklambara Brahmachari, and he saw Damodar Pandit, as well as many other devotees. Now these devotees, because they had heard of Narottam through Lord Chaitanya, they were so happy to see Narottam Das Thakur, and they were like, this is, they were all very old at this point, and they were like, oh, now, we've just been waiting for you to come. Now we feel like our purpose of our life is already complete, and we're ready to leave. And even when Narottam went to Vrindavan, Jiva Goswami and other associates, they knew about Narottam Das Thakur, and they all were very pleased and bestowed a lot of mercy on him. And the whole time Narottam's thinking, these are such great souls, and they're offering me such great respect. I'm very unworthy. I don't deserve any of this. So this is the heart of a devotee. This is Narottam Das Thakur. He's such a great soul, but he's praying to the Lord. I'm the most fallen. If you don't give me your mercy, then why are you known as Patita Pavana, the savior of the most fallen? So this is the most wonderful quality of a devotee, is this humility. And the humility is embodied in the heart of a true Vaishnava, and it's something that we should always all aspire for. And Kaviraj Goswami, he says that this Tanada piece in each and our verse, we should wear it as a garland around our neck, and it should become a very significant part of our life. So now in the Adi Leela of chapter 10 of the Caitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya, he's described as a tree of love of Godhead. And from this tree, there's many branches, and these branches, they're the great devotees of the Lord, and the branches also have sub-branches who have devotees who are connected to these devotees of the Lord. So on the western side, of the tree, the 43rd, the 44th, and the 45th branch is considered Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Anupam. So I'd just like to mention some information about these great souls, especially Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, as they're very important devotees in our Krishna consciousness movement. So first we can talk about Rupa Goswami, as we're known as Rupanukas. We're all followers of Rupa Goswami. So in the preface of Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada writes, the Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. So what does that mean? How actively involved is Srila Rupa Goswami in our everyday lives? Is he literally supervising all of us? But before understanding this supervisory function, we need to know who Srila Rupa Goswami is in relationship to ourselves, our spiritual masters, and to the previous acharyas, going back to the time of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So each of our acharyas are very powerful, and they're very pure Nityasiddha devotees of the Lord, and they're capable of delivering the entire world. But they preach in according to Lord Chaitanya's wishes to a lesser or greater degree. So the special significance of Srila Rupa Goswami is that he not only is a direct disciple of Lord Chaitanya and the leader of the 6 Goswamis, but he's also the leader of all the acharyas and followers of Srila Prabhupada. These are all the acharyas that came after Rupa Goswami. They're all Rupanugas. So in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada writes, the actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are directed by the previous acharyas headed by Srila Rupa Goswami. So Srila Rupa Goswami is spearheading Lord Chaitanya's campaign can be put into perspective with his relationship to Shri Radha Govinda, who are his deities. Shri Govinda Dev is the Lord of Abhidaya, and that refers to the activities and practices involved in devotional service. And its aim is to establish and activate a loving relationship with the Lord. So we have 3 things called Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojana. So Sambandha is reconnecting our relationship with the Supreme Lord, so that's the beginning of devotional service. So then we have Abhidaya, which is the progression of devotional services and the practices to attain the goal, and Prayojana is considered the goal, which is love of Godhead. And so it's saying here, Shri Radha Govinda, they're the lords of the process of Abhidaya. So we must also bear in mind that when we consider Srila Prabhupada's contribution to his intimate kinship with Rupa Goswami, both in deed and empathy. So both Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, they had this strong desire to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Lord Chaitanya, his desire was that everyone hear about him and know about his Sankirtan movement. So there's that beautiful, famous verse, Prithiviti Achayata Naga Adigram Savatra Pachar Hobe Maranam. In every town and village on the surface of the earth, my holy name will be chanted. So these are the inner feelings of Lord Chaitanya. And Srila Rupa Goswami, he committed to writing about these feelings of the Lord. Now again, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the feelings are being spread by the servants of the Goswamis and devotees who are pure and simple. They'll appreciate this attempt, and that is what Srila Prabhupada has written in the Antya Leela 118. So now we can talk about a little bit of the history of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Lord Chaitanya, he gave Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami 4 instructions. He told them to go to Vrindavan. The first instruction he gave them was to establish the lost pastime places of Lord Krishna, the Leela Sthanas. The second instruction he gave them was to install deities and to establish deity worship. The third instruction he gave them was to write Bhakti Shastras. And the fourth instruction he gave them was to propagate the rules of Bhakti Yoga. So wearing only kopin, the loincloth, and kanta, patchwork quilt, Srila Rupa Goswami, he lived a mendicant's life, absorbed in hearing, chanting, and writing about Radha Govinda's sweet, loving pastimes in Vrindavan. Srila Rupa Goswami wrote practical yet profound transcendental books. He established Shri Radha Govindaji, the beloved deities of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Through extensive Vedic research, Srila Rupa Goswami proved that Lord Chaitanya's teachings present the highest philosophy and perfection of religion. Gaudiya Vaishnavas are known as Rupanugas, followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. Every Rupanuga aspires to become a servant of the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur, he has written a very beautiful song. It's called Sri Rupa Manjari Padha, and this is a prayer to Rupa Goswami's eternal form as Rupa Manjari and the spiritual world as a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. And this song, it was actually very dear to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as well. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he requested that when he was leaving his body, he wanted devotees to sing this song. So the prayer is Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, Se Mora Sampada, Se Mora Bhajana Pujana. The feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are my only wealth. They are the object of my service and my worship. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he commissioned Sri Rupa Goswami to write on the science of Rasa Tattva. In Caitanya Chandrodaya, Sri Kavi Kanapur says that Sri Rupa Goswami is the form of true love and devotion. Sri Chaitanya empowered him to explain his own love and devotion and to propagate it to the world. Lord Chaitanya manifested his pastimes through Srila Rupa Goswami, and he received the title Bhakti Rasacharya, Guru of devotional mellows for his devotional classics, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is Nectar of Devotion, Ujjvala Nilamani, and Lalita Madhava, and other books. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it gives us the essence of all Vedic scriptures regarding the kingdom of bhakti. In great detail, it explains how to advance in Krishna consciousness and how to attain prema bhakti, pure unalloyed love for Radha Govinda in Vrindavan. And so the following quote, this shows the incredible potency of Srila Rupa Goswami's transcendental writing. When Srila Rupa Goswami would sit in his bhajan kutir at Terakadamba, that was in Nandagram, and write about the pangs of separation that Radha and Krishna felt for one another, the leaves of the Kadamba tree would fall off, just like tears coming down the face of someone in pain. And when Sri Rupa wrote about Radha and Krishna's ecstatic, loving reunion, that overjoyed Kadamba tree immediately sprouted new leaves and blossoming flowers. By the mercy of a pure Vaishnava like Srila Rupa Goswami, this Kadamba tree could understand and appreciate the intimate and confidential subject matters which remain beyond our comprehension. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he established the deities of Radha Govinda in Vrindavan. And the Bhakti Ratnakara, it quotes one song from Srinivasacharya, which he describes the beauty of Srila Rupa Goswami's deities of Radha Govinda. And it says, having seen the incomparable beauty of Sri Govinda, Sri Radhika begins describing it to her Sakhis. Who has sculptured that moon-like face, and who has sculptured those two lotus eyes? Only my heart knows how I feel when I see him. Who has shaped his earrings and cut carefully in gems? My mind is fixed on them. His nose pearl, surrounded by a golden ring, looks like a moon-like white flower, surrounded by lightning, smiling from behind some blue clouds. His forehead is decorated with sandal tilak and beautiful, mind-enchanting designs. He shines within my heart. Yet my heart aches, being incapable of beholding his beautiful face to my full satisfaction. If God had given me the power, I could continually enjoy his sweet voice. His arms are stronger than the trunks of elephants. My youthful body longs for the touch of his fingers. His graceful movements rival the gait of a maddened elephant. He is the ocean of beauty. So Krishna Das Kaviraj says that the deity of Radha Govinda shows us how to worship Radha and Krishna. Radha Govinda, they're accepting our service and giving inspiration to increase our surrender on the path of bhakti. Acting like the Shiksha Guru, Govindaji directs us and gives us important opportunities to serve him. So in the year 1564, when Srila Rupa Goswami must have been 71 years old, he entered Radha Govinda's Nitya Leela just 27 days after the disappearance of Srila Sanatana Goswami. So we can see, like, after the disappearance of the Lord, of Lord Krishna and Lord Caitanya, when the Lord disappears, the devotees of the Lord, the associates of the Lord, they're feeling such intense separation from the Lord that they can't stay in this world anymore, so they also leave. So this probably was the case with Srila Rupa Goswami as well, because Sanatana Goswami was considered like a Shiksha Guru, and he instructed, and Rupa Goswami followed him, and they were brothers as well, but they're very close. So now I just wanted to mention something about Sanatana Goswami. So Sanatana Goswami appeared in 1488, 5 years before Srila Rupa Goswami, in a Saraswat Brahmin family in Bengal. And in his youth, Sri Sanatana Goswami, he had a dream. A beautiful Brahmin boy, he gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. And feeling ecstatic, he awoke, but then seeing neither the boy nor the Bhagavatam, he felt sad. But later on, when Sanatana, he began his puja, Krishna, he came disguised as a Brahmin boy, and he said to Sanatana, please take this Srimad Bhagavatam from me, always study it and you will attain perfection. So in Krishna Leela Stava, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he glorifies the Bhagavatam and he writes, O holy Bhagavat, you are my only company, my only friend and my guru. You are my greatest treasure and my personal savior. You are the emblem of my highest fortune and the very form of ecstasy. I offer my dandavats to you. So forced to submit to the Muslim governments, Srila Rupa and Sanatana, they were ministers in Ramakeli, but their real engagement was teaching the Shastra. So, and they had learned this from Vidya Vischaspati. Does anyone know whose brother he is? So he's the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So Pandits and Brahmins from all over India, they came to study under the two brothers. And Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, they were acclaimed as the crest jewel of the Gaudiya Vaishnava scholars. So after the Lord visited Ramakeli and freed them, they renounced everything and they engaged fully in Lord Gauranga's service. So entering Lord Chaitanya's service, they resolutely gave up power, riches and position to live in Vrindavan as humble beggars. And they were absorbed in bhajan. And one cannot perform Krishna bhajan unless one renounces all attachments, both internally and externally, and adopts a life of simplicity and humility. So they travelled extensively over Vrajmandal and discovered many Leela Sthanas, or pastime places of Lord Krishna. And having no fixed residence, they would sleep under a tree for only a little while, for like an hour and a half. And they also wouldn't eat much, so then they could, they were able to do this of sleeping so little and able to perform their bhajans. We see with Srila Prabhupada also. Srila Prabhupada at night time, he used to sleep maybe 2 hours and then get up and do his translation work. and maybe during the day he would sleep for 20 minutes, half an hour, but that's all he would do because he was on the spiritual platform, and his desire to spread Krishna consciousness and being empowered by the Supreme Lord, it was possible for doing all this. So Srila Rupa and Sanatan, they spent all of their time writing, discussing Krishna's pastimes and chanting the Krishna's holy name. And to maintain himself, Sanatan would beg for some wheat flour from the people, and he'd roll it into the bowl, and he would add a bit of water from the Yamuna, and he would make it into some dough and then put it into some smoldering coals to cook. And this he would offer, there's no salt in this bread, but he would offer it to his deity of Madan Mohan. So giving up all kinds of material enjoyment, the Goswamis accepted the poorest way of life as mendicants. They ate just enough to maintain their bodies. The Radha Madan Mohan temple, established by Sanatana Goswami, was the first one opened in Vrindavan by the 6 Goswamis. Described as the personal extension of the body of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Sanatana is the ideal spiritual master because he gives one shelter at the lotus feet of Madan Mohan. The 3 Vrindavan deities, Madan Mohan, Govindaji and Gopinath, they're the life and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And the deity of Madan Mohan, he has a specific quality of helping the neophyte devotees understand their eternal relationship with Krishna. Madan Mohan means Krishna who is so indescribably beautiful that he attracts even Kamadev, which is Cupid. So Sanatana Goswami is a Sambandha Acharya who gives us knowledge of our proper relationship with Krishna, and his deity Madan Mohan helps us overcome our attraction for material sense gratification, specifically Cupid, and fix our minds on devotional service. So Srila Sanatana Goswami, he spent 43 years wandering from village to village, and the Vaishnavas, they would affectionately care for him and treat him like their father. And he was very patient and very concerned, and he listened to their problems. He would please all the villagers by his preaching and his practical advice, from increasing crop yields to solving family quarrels. So, renouncing all worldly pleasures, Sanatana Goswami, he was humble, detached, always absorbed in study. Mahaprabhu often said that Sanatana Goswami was his favorite devotee. And as an ocean of love and mercy, Sanatana Goswami excelled all other devotees in his compassion for the suffering souls, and that's from Bhakti Ratnakara. In his last years, he left his beloved deity of Madan Mohan with his disciple Krishna Das Brahmachari. He did bhajan on the banks of Manasi Ganga next to Chakleshwara Mahadev at Govardhana. Daily he walked the 24-mile parikram, and that's a longer path of the Govardhana hill. Although he was 65 years old, he kept his daily vow of offering 1,008 obeisances to Govardhana hill and to the Vaishnavas that he met. But then, understanding the difficulties that Sanatana Goswami was going through, Madan Mohan, he appeared to him and said, "Baba, you're too old. Don't take so much trouble to walk around Govardhana hill every day." Sanatana Goswami, he said, "This is one of my daily activities of my bhajans. I must maintain it. Since you are so old," said Madan Mohan, "you may now give up this vow." Starting to walk again, Sanatana replied, "I will never give up my religious principles." Sanatana Goswami, firm, determined, and complete in his daily vow. He pleased Sri Madan Mohan, but in the loving dealings between the Lord and his devotees, Krishna's desire to please the devotee often defeats the devotee's desire to please him. So out of loving compassion for his devotee, Sri Krishna stood on a flat stone, a Govardhana Shila, taken from Giriraj, and he played his flute, and from the flute, the Govardhana Shila, it melted, and from that, the impressions of Krishna's feet were on there. So he presented this to Sanatana Goswami and said, "You circumambulate the Shila, and from this it's like you're circumambulating Govardhana hill." And this Shila is now also in the Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. There's more to say, but we're out of time. So thank you all very much. Shri Sanatana Shri Rupa Goswami.